It was March 3rd, the beginning of a new semester. Universities brimmed with excitement as fresh-faced students flooded the campuses, buzzing with the energy of new beginnings and budding romances. But amidst all the laughter and lightness, one person didn't quite belong. Two girls stood on campus, eyes fixed on a figure in the distance. "Oh my God, it's her," one of them whispered. "Who?" the other asked, confused. "The girl in the cap, the one I told you about," she said. "You mean, the senior who went totally off the rails because of her ex?" Their subject of gossip, the girl in the cap, was none other than Cyan Lehian. After being forced to take a leave of absence from university, she was finally returning after 3 long years, still watching her. The first girl added, "I can't believe she actually came back. I almost didn't recognize her." Adjusting her cap and trying to walk past a notice, Lehian clearly heard their whispers. "They're talking about me," she thought, trying to stay composed. The two girls didn't stop. "How did you recognize her?" "I took a liberal arts class with her when I was a freshman." "That face stuck with me. She looks the same as back then." "No, she doesn't. She's completely different now, used to have really long hair," trying to avoid further attention. Lehian quickened her pace, only to suddenly bump into a man who was glued to his phone. Her cap fell to the ground as she stumbled, and as she bent down to pick it up, the man looked at her with surprise. "Are you okay?" "I wasn't watching where I was going," he said. The moment she heard his voice, Lehian froze. She slowly looked up, and there he was. "It's you, Lehian," he said with a faint smile. "You came back to school? Long time no see." You stopped texting all of a sudden. It was him. The very reason her world had fallen apart, her ex-boyfriend, the one at the center of all the rumors. King T-Hyuk, panic surged through her. Without another word, she turned and ran. Once she was out of sight, she leaned against a wall, breath shallow and eyes stinging with tears. Why is he still here? A flood of memories rushed back. She saw herself from the past, standing before him, eyes filled with tears. "Oppa, did I do something wrong?" she had asked. "No, you didn't," he said, while another girl clung to his hand. Her voice had trembled as she pleaded, "If I did, please tell me, okay?" But all he replied was, "I told you, it's nothing." "Then why are you seeing someone else?" she had cried. He scoffed, "Wow, you're so obsessed with me. What's wrong with you?" People nearby had begun whispering. "Didn't they break up? She's acting kind of crazy." I didn't think she was that kind of girl. The sting of humiliation hadn't faded, even after all these years. Back in the present, a voice snapped her out of her thoughts. Cyan Lehian. She looked up. She was sitting in class and the professor was calling roll. "Again, it's student Cyan Lehian, not here." Flustered, she quickly raised her hand. "I'm here." "I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. Please respond immediately next time," the professor said. "Yes, I'm sorry." As she lowered her hand, she noticed 2 boys sitting a few seats away. One in a black sweatshirt leaned toward his friend. "That girl in the cap, is she taking the same class as us?" Lehian dropped her gaze, feeling overwhelmed. Here we go again, but someone else was watching her quietly. A boy with long, bleached hair sat beside them, glancing at her from the corner of his eye. His friend nudged him. "What are you staring at? Is there a pretty girl or something?" "No, it's nothing." "Never mind," he muttered, looking away. When the class finally ended, students poured out into the hallway, chattering and laughing. Lehian kept her head low, adjusting her cap again and trying to blend into the crowd. "Too many people, I need to get out quickly." But as she passed the same group of boys, her foot accidentally caught on one of them. She stumbled, nearly falling, until a hand gently grabbed her shoulder. "Oh no, I'm so sorry. Are you okay?" the boy who tripped her asked. Flustered, she nodded. I'm okay." She looked up just slightly and met the gaze of the bleach-haired boy. For a moment, their eyes locked. His expression was unreadable, intense. Startled, Lehian looked away and rushed off. Why was he staring at me like that? She wondered, her heart still pounding. After her unsettling encounter on campus, Lehian quickly made her way out of the university grounds. She walked along the pavement, shoulders slumped, muttering to herself in frustration. "I'm screwed, it's already this bad. How am I supposed to survive an entire year like this?" Her thoughts spiraled. Why is he still at school? She cursed internally, gripping her head. This is too much. That night back at her boarding house, Lehian stepped out of the bathroom, hair damp from a fresh shower. While drying it with a towel, she noticed her phone vibrating. It was her mom calling. "Hello, yes, Mom, yeah, I had dinner," she answered, trying to sound cheerful, but her voice faltered as her mom asked, "Did you get to your dorm safely? You don't have a roommate next to you, right?" Lehian paused. Well, her thoughts flashed back to the previous week. Her arrival on campus, luggage in hand, excited to settle into her dorm. But the excitement quickly turned to confusion when the administrative staff told her, "Your name's not on the dorm list. I don't know why it's missing." Panicked, she asked, How did this happen?" "I'm really sorry, Miss Lehian, but you can't enter the dorm right now. I'll make sure your name is on the list for next semester." With nowhere to go, she had dragged her luggage down unfamiliar streets, muttering to herself, "Where am I supposed to sleep tonight?" Eventually, she stumbled upon a small two-story place called Sunny Boarding House. The first floor was for men, the second for women. Miraculously, there was one vacant room left, the very last one. She took it. Snapping back to the present, her mom's voice came through the phone again. "You're in the dorms, right?" Lehian swallowed, Mom so worried. She thought guiltily, then quickly said, "Nothing is wrong, I'm really doing well, so don't worry," but her mom wasn't convinced. "Why did you take so long to answer then? What's going on?" "Oh, my roommate just came in, I'll call you later." "Good night, Mom." She hung up before her mother could say another word, then let out a sigh. "I almost blew it." She'd worry so much if she knew I wasn't in the dorms. Her gaze shifted to a notification on her phone, a message from her university group chat bulletin board. It read, "Yesterday's hottest post on the ET community app. I stumbled and fell today in front of the person I like while entering the education building." Lehian raised a brow. "Wow, it's been a while since I last opened ET." She sat on the bed and opened the app someone had anonymously posted. "Today, while I was heading into the education building, I tripped and dropped all my textbooks and materials. A guy with bleached, shoulder-length hair and dark skin helped me pick everything up. He even walked me to class. We exchanged numbers. I know it sounds shallow, but he's exactly my type. I think he's in the education department. Does he have a girlfriend?" Lehian blinked. "I'm also in the education department, curious." She scrolled through the comments. There were dozens. "Haha, I think I know who that is, that trashy punk. Yeah, I think I know too." "Wait, why trashy? That jerk stole my girlfriend. He's got women crawling all over him, doesn't care about a single one." Reading the responses, Lehian rolled her eyes. "They're going off. I really hate people who spread rumors like this." She suddenly remembered her ex's cold words from the past. "Lehian, who do you think is going to believe you now?" Silence, then she chuckled softly and stood up, pulling on her jacket. "There's nothing wrong with being cautious. I don't like trash anymore." She grabbed her phone and headed out. "I just need to go to the convenience store and clear my head. No getting involved." The night was cold and quiet. After grabbing a few things from the store, she stepped back outside. That's when her eyes caught sight of someone across the street. "Huh, what's that guy doing? Is he drunk?" A tall figure leaned against a wall, swaying slightly, checking her phone. She saw the time. "It's already 2, it's late at night. Is he okay?" She hesitated, then slowly walked over. "Excuse me." But as she rounded his side to check on him, she froze behind his broad back. The guy was kissing a girl, and not just anyone. It was the same bleach-haired boy from earlier. He turned to glance at her mid-kiss, and with a smirk, then he looked straight at Lehian. "So what were you saying?" Lehian stood still, stunned, her face drained of color as the scene hit her like a punch to the gut. The next morning, Lehian stepped out of the boarding house, the sunlight brushing against her still weary face. As she walked down the quiet street, she sighed. Yesterday was a lot, she muttered to herself. So many things happened just from coming back to school. But then, with a grimace, she added, I really hate walking down the street." As she approached the university building, something made her stop in her tracks. Around the corner, leaning against the wall in broad daylight, was the same bleach-haired guy, once again kissing a girl. Only, it was a different girl this time, eyes widening. Lehian froze behind the corner. She let out an involuntary cough. The guy paused mid-kiss and raised an eyebrow. Their eyes met, panicking. Lehian slapped a hand over her mouth and turned away, hurrying down the path with her face flushed red. Out of breath, she leaned against the wall, clutching the straps of her bag. Is he crazy or something? Why does he keep looking at me while kissing someone else? Then it hit her. Wait, long bleached hair. That post on the bulletin board, her eyes widened. So he's the trash everyone was talking about as she walked into the corridor. Her thoughts raced. I don't get how he can be so calm doing such trashy stuff out in the open. I mean, I was the only one who saw him, but still, I really hate this. Later that afternoon, checking her phone between classes, Lehian whispered, just one more class and I'm done for the day. But her eyes caught a group of 3 boys nearby laughing and whispering. One said, don't you think she's kinda hot though? Another replied, no way, isn't that Nuna a total loser or something? Lehian scowled and cursed under her breath. Ushals. Talking about women like that, still she kept walking muttering, just ignore them, ignore them. But just then, hey, be careful, the ball's coming your way. Too late, she turned just in time to get slammed in the face by a football flying from the field. Thud, she collapsed to the ground. Her glasses knocked off, broken nearby, gasps filled the air. Someone murmured, yikes, that looked painful, dazed still on the ground. Lehian groaned inwardly, maybe I should just take another break from school. A football player sheepishly approached, holding the ball. I'm sorry, he mumbled, but Lehian didn't want to hear it. Just go, she thought, rubbing her throbbing face. Her hands searched blindly on the ground. Where are my glasses? Suddenly, someone crouched down beside her. A familiar hand picked up the broken glasses. She looked up, forcing a polite smile. Thank you, she paused. It was him again, the bleach-haired guy. He looked at her and said casually, you're really pretty when you take those off. A little while later, the same bleach-haired guy named Chanwoo stood in a quiet corner of campus with his friend. Dude, what was that? His friend asked, smirking. Don't tell me you're into her now. Chanwoo calmly tore open a pack of cigarettes. Why, are you interested in her? He shot back. What? No. Why would I be? Lighting his cigarette, Chanwoo replied coolly, why not? She's cute. His friend chuckled. But you do know who she is, right? That girl who made a huge scene crying about her ex. She just came back to school this year. Smoke curled from Chanwoo's lips. So that's her, his friend laughed. Yeah, and now you're saying she's cute. So what happened? Chanwoo shrugged. I don't know, she's not my type, but I feel kinda drawn to her. You weren't just flirting with her for fun? Chanwoo paused, her stunned face flashing in his mind. It's fine, he said simply, that should be easy. Back in class, Lee Hyeon sat in the back. Arms crossed, eyes glued to the floor. The more I see him, she thought bitterly. He's exactly the kind of guy I need to avoid. Then she groaned inwardly, and now my glasses are broken too. Just perfect, she clung to a sliver of hope. Maybe he didn't recognize me, she wondered. But that hope shattered quickly. From that day on, he kept appearing everywhere. During lunch at the cafeteria, just as she took a bite, Chanwoo appeared beside her. Hey, eating alone? He asked casually. She choked in surprise, coughing violently before bolting out of the room like her life depended on it. Outside on campus, she tried to walk unnoticed. But there he was again, passing by, waving at her with a bright hi. How are you? She didn't even answer. She vanished on the spot. Even in the streets, it was the same. One day, she spotted him walking with yet another girl. She ducked behind a wall, mumbling to herself. Just like the rumors say, total trash. That's a different girl from last time. But when she dared to peek again, he was right in front of her. He looked directly at her. Hey you, he called out, panic. She dashed off once more. The girl holding onto Chanwoo's arm blinked in confusion. Who was that, Oppa? Do you know her? She asked. Chanwoo just chuckled, saying nothing. The next morning at school, Lee Hyeon yawned as she dragged her feet through the hallway. How can there be 2 days in a row with first period classes? She grumbled, then groaned. Oh right, because I screwed up my course registration. Deep in thought, she accidentally bumped into someone again. Oh, I'm sorry, she started, but her words caught in her throat when she looked up. It was him. Chanwoo tilted his head slightly, eyes narrowing in amusement. Lee Hyeon froze. I need to escape, she panicked. Yes, I should just run away, she spun on her heel. But before she could flee, Chanwoo grabbed her wrist in one swift motion, startled. She halted mid-step, leaning in slightly, his voice low. He asked, why are you running away from me? Her face turned bright red. She avoided his eyes, her thoughts swirling. What the hell is happening to me? Chanwoo gazed at her for a moment as if trying to figure her out. But then, before he could say anything, she jerked her arm, panicking even more, and accidentally smacked him across the face. Eyes wide, she bolted again, leaving Chanwoo behind, standing with one hand over his cheek. He sighed, watching her flee yet again. She ran away again. Later in class, the professor stood at the front, addressing the students. "Hello everyone, I'll be your professor this semester." Lee Hyun, however, couldn't focus, especially not when Chanwoo deliberately sat down in the seat right beside her. Her eyes welled up in frustration. "Why is this happening to me?" The professor continued. "My name is Professor Kim and I'll be teaching English literature. Let's have a great semester." Beside her, Chanwoo smiled, clearly enjoying her torment. She muttered to herself, "Oh my god, I'm going to have to see him every week now." And just when she thought it couldn't get worse, he leaned in and whispered, "You should pay attention." Startled, she jerked upright, blushing furiously as she clutched her ears. Chanwoo laughed quietly beside her. "She reacts right away," he mused, amused. Before she could recover, a familiar voice echoed from the front. "Hello everyone, I'm the teacher's assistant." Lee Hyun's heart sank. Standing there was none other than Kang Tae-hyuk, her ex-boyfriend. He smiled warmly. "Nice to meet you all, my name is Kang Tae-hyuk. I hope we can work well together this semester." Lee Hyun's world darkened as she sat frozen in her seat. "Oh no, I'm really screwed now." Lee Hyun kept cursing her luck under her breath as the professor started roll call. When her name was called, Lee Hyun, she raised her hand with tears welling in her eyes. "Here," she muttered bleakly, "this is the worst class ever, and since the correction period's over, I can't even drop it." She reluctantly raised her head toward the front and her gaze locked with him. Kang Tae-hyuk, her ex-Spanic, shot through her chest. She quickly looked down, trying to make herself as invisible as possible. But Chanwoo, sitting beside her, caught her sudden shift in mood, quietly watching her. The rest of class went by in a blur. As soon as the bell rang and students started chatting and packing up, Lee Hyun gathered her things slowly, trying not to draw attention. She was almost out the door when she noticed Chanwoo following close behind. "I didn't feel as nervous as I thought I would," she thought, walking into the hallway, "but I really didn't."